This is a video to show you how to install the heated grips on a 2014 Street Glide Special. The harness that they tell you need is not actually needed because the bike is actually wired for it. So you start with taking off your front fairing. All these screws, we already have them loose. Except for this one. And then you have a couple more on each side down here and down here. And once we remove these, the fairing will be loose. Unplug your headlight. And set that somewhere safe. All right. The 2014 Street Glide, there is actually a power cable, which is actually right here where I'm pointed, that's zip tied to this other harness. You can see it there with this harness. And then the other one is way up here. You can see it right at the end, right in there. Now that you've located the harnesses, you're gonna start by taking off the blinker setup on both sides. And once that is removed, you'll end up taking the studs out, and we'll show you that as well. All right, now those nuts are off, so we actually can remove this, and we can actually just let it hang kind of carefully. You can disconnect the cord if you'd like, but we're not gonna do that. Next step, you take off the studs right here that hold your actual fairing on. But before you do that, take out this Allen so that this plate doesn't bind up when you move this. All right, now we have removed the studs that hold your fairing on here, and that Allen that I previously pointed at. So now we're gonna go ahead and remove this trim piece, which is just stuck on because it's been there since the factory. And then we move on to the ignition switch, which I have here we go. Turn the ignition switch. There's a button on the bottom. While pushing in the button, the whole thing pops out in your hand. And there's a button on the bottom, so we twist the lock over to the lock section. We turn the key a little bit and wiggle it around. And then the ignition comes out, and just set that aside somewhere safe. Now you take this panel here and just move it down, separate it away, and you can leave it right there. And then from there, we now, since this is loose, we can lift this fairing up and just set it back to give us access. Now we have access to in here where the hole in the handlebars are. All right, now protect your tank with some sort of a towel or cloth. There you go. And we go ahead and remove the control here, the clutch side. It looks like a T27 for the brake lever and a T25 for the back of the switch housing. Before we do this, we actually want to mark this line with a Sharpie on both sides so that we know where the control is. When we reinstall them, we keep our same angle. So just a little dot is all you need. We'll do it on this side while we're here. There we go. Now we'll go ahead and remove this. careful to set this where it doesn't scratch anything. In this case, right up here on the tank. And now we will remove the switch housing. These screws actually do not come out, they have a stop on them. And now carefully separate this just enough so that we can get the grip off. Take the front off, and then we can just do that. Now we're going to try and twist this grip off. It is glued on, so it will take some pressure. It will take a little bit of strength here. There we go. And now we're going to go ahead and clean this section up, and then we'll start recording again. All right, so now we're going to feed. This is actually just some trimmer wire for a weed whacker that I happen to have in the garage. We're actually going to feed this through the bar from the center out to here, and we're going to tape this cord through and actually pull the power harness to the center with a chaser. This is how we do that. We come down here. There's actually the hole right down here, kind of where my pointer finger is there. And there we go. Now we're feeding it through the actual bar. And eventually here we'll see it pop out the other side. There it is. So now we've successfully put a chaser through. So I'm not an electrician, but we'll go ahead and tape this off the best way I know how to. Just go ahead and kind of line these up separately so they're not that wide. We don't want to pair them together like this because it's a little too wide for the bar, so make sure they're offset. Take your handy black tape here. Go ahead and tape this one first. You can always remove the tape after, so a little bit extra tape to make sure that that is in there will prevent you from having to redo it. All right, so that is now ready to go through the bar. So we'll go ahead and slowly feed it through while gently snugging or tugging on the other end. Try and do more pushing than pulling if you can. Nearing that end, so we want to double check here, or we will pull that wire, that trimmer wire out. Push that down a little farther there. Here we go. I'm starting to see the tape, so I know I'm pretty close. So now it's really just about getting your fingers on it if you can. It is tight in here, so kind of be patient if you can. Maybe even a little bit of needle nose will work. Just don't ruin the connector. Don't squeeze on the plastic connectors if you can. See, we're getting them now. All right. All right, this feels like we've gotten it through there. And we have. So now, the two connectors are through. So we'll go ahead and remove this tape. All right, finally got that tape off of there, so now you can see your 2 wires are now through the bar. So we'll even them up. And we'll go ahead and slide the handle while gently pulling on the wires just to get us in place temporarily. Now we have all of this wire up here. So you will see, and I'll get a flashlight to show you. This is where the pre-wire on the 14 actually helps you out quite a bit, is down in here, which we may have to revisit the other side because I already showed you. Nope, I didn't. Here it is. This is one side. This is your throttle side harness plug. So you can take that plug right here and plug it into that. So you got a male and a female, and that would be your throttle side. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that now. Take the flashlight away, so I got 2 hands. And I'm gonna go ahead and plug this in. Make sure you got a good click on that. Now we can take this side, because this is the other one that I had pointed to earlier, and we're actually gonna feed it down through the fairing so that we can move the fairing back up into position to plug it in. So now, to give us a little more room, we're gonna go ahead and lift this fairing back up into its original position. There we go. And now we're gonna have to find that cable I just fished through there, which, again, with the flashlight, it is up there somewhere. Once I see it. Where did I put it? Let me see here. Might have to. The dog's going crazy. But I'm gonna go ahead and lift the fairing back off because I don't know if it fell back or what, but I'm gonna go ahead and lift this up a little bit just to make sure that I fed that down there where it's supposed to be. All right. I'll go ahead and put it back now. We got our hands on it. All right, now we have the female receptor from the new handlebars. We're gonna take this pre-wired wire that we had showed you that was previously on the zip tie, and we're gonna go ahead and remove this cap by pressing the button on it and removing the cap. We can discard that. It's no longer needed. And now make sure you have a good click. That's it. The left side is actually wired. So we'll set this back down and we'll start reassembling the left side. All right, so now we're gonna show you how this grip is actually notched. If you see here, it has a notch. I'll twist it around so you can kind of see it a little bit, but remember it does have wires on it. So that notch actually will line up, I believe, more like this here. You'll see that there's grooves on this plate. I'll get a light on it. You can see this notch in the plate where my fingernail is would match up to this plate. So we'll make sure that the grip is pushed up as far as you can on the bar, and then you actually take the control, very gently do that, and now you can see where my finger is. It has lined up. Let me get the light. It has lined up with that groove, so this can no longer spin once this whole clamp is, or once this switch housing is put back together. So I'll do that now. just snug this up for now, just a little bit, and we'll go ahead and make sure the positioning is good after. All right, so now that we have that, we're just gonna go ahead and get our brake lever back in place. Our clutch lever, sorry. There we go. Take our Torx bit and actually line this up now to our dot to get us back to where we were, which is right there. And we're going to snug it up with this screwdriver for now, but we'll use the 1/4" ratchet in a second just to snug it up the rest of the way. Now that you have that all installed, you can go ahead and I'll snug this up first since I got that T27 in there still. There you go. All right. Those are good and snug. I'll switch to the T25. We'll snug this up. Again, this is not a crazy structural item, so don't go crazy and break bolts. Go ahead and snug the bottom now. All right, the left side is now done. So we're gonna go ahead and reassemble the fairing now because there's really no reason not to. It's all done, so we're gonna go ahead and do that so that we don't have to worry about it anymore. By doing that. All right. Go ahead and put the top bolts of the fairing in. All right. And we do the other one. The bolt was going wrong there. All right, make sure that this is lined up here. Put your Allen back in on that little black plate. Little switch cover. All right, there we go, got it caught now. Now next we're gonna put this trim piece on that goes here, which is right here, and line that back up so that we can put the bottom fairing bolts back in. Which will just move that blinker out of the way a little bit. That is right here. line back up at least, because all the bolts are back, almost. All right, now we're back in business there. So we can actually go ahead and just tighten these up, get them out of the way. So I'm gonna go ahead and tighten the big fairing bolts up. There's that side. Go ahead and do this side. I always like to tighten the things now. That way you don't forget them later. Everything I install, I like to finish. There we go. Now we'll go ahead and go back to the screwdriver and the Allen and tighten up that black switch plate. Go on that side. And here we go over here. There you go. And we can go reinstalling the blinkers now. Just go ahead and make sure they sit flush up against the bike and that this plug doesn't actually get caught at all. So just do that. And now we can go ahead and get those on there. Go ahead and snug them now. All right. Go ahead and do the other side now. Same thing with this side. Make sure the wires don't get caught. And go ahead and put those nuts on. All right, at least that stuff is all put back together. So we'll go ahead and put the ignition switch back in. See if I can do it from this side of the bike. Back in. There you go. You're good to go on that. All right, so now everything is back in order. We can wait on the fairing in the front, and we're going to go ahead and start disassembling the throttle side. If I can find all my tools here. Where did I set my screwdriver? There it is. All right. Take this handy little gizmo off here. Actually, before we start on this, I watched on a bunch of other videos that somebody shims, or most people shim this brake lever so that you don't break the little plastic cam for your brake light. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. Just use a little piece of cardboard and open your brake lever up and kind of thread that in here to keep your brake lever in the engaged position. And by doing that, you can see that the little white cam down in here, you might not be able to see it, but it's inside there, is no longer touching the end of this brake lever. So now we're going to go ahead and take it apart. There you go. Looks like we got a couple extras there because of that cup holder or that cell phone holder. So we'll set those aside. And now the brake lever is loose. So now we have to open up this switch housing. I'm just loosening the bolts so that I can get that brake lever loose so I don't have it swing down and scratch the paint. I'm holding it from the underside. All right, now that that's loose, we can set that over here, out of the way, and we can come over here and I'll show you that cam a little better. That cam that I was talking about earlier for the brake switch. Let's see if I can get over here to do it. No. It's a little tight on the... There we go. I'm not finding a way to get an image of this for you. But this cam, where I'm going to point at it with this Torx, this right here is the cam that they're talking about that you don't want to break. Just so you see that. And now we're going to go ahead and disconnect the rest of it. All right. We're going to finish unscrewing this switch housing. Take the back off the housing for now, just set that aside. And now this grip can just simply come right off. And that's it on this grip. So now we take a straight slot screwdriver and we pop this cap off. This is a dust cap. We do not need that anymore. And now you'll see the plugs for the throttle side heat grip. Now we take the heat grip and we actually just go ahead and line that up on here. Once we know it's all the way in, now we're going to take a pair of needle nose pliers to line this plug up to snap it in. And it's got a little hole in it, so on the last one I just kind of grabbed it like this. And if you line up your just go ahead and line your plugs up. Try and feed the wire in there. I'm going to go ahead and turn this around actually, so that maybe, there we go. Just remember to be gentle with the prongs of this connector. It's kind of hard to see it. There we go. Now try and simply remove the there we go. We are in business. So now we are snapped in, plugged in. All that is good. So we can actually reassemble this switch housing so that we hold our grip in place. Just stretch that over the housing, or over the grip. Get our screws caught. All right, now at least we know that we're back in business on that. Everything is free moving. We want to make sure that we're pushed in all the way on the housing and the grip. And we're going to go ahead now and reinstall the brake lever, which is going to be a little bit more of a pain with the cup holder to do fast, but we'll get it. So we've got the spacers for the cup holder. Go ahead and feed that through, feed the spacer through, and then the clamp through on this one. At least get it to where wrong side. There we go. This will at least maybe get us where we want to be on the threads anyway. Okay, that'll get us kind of close. And the other one and the other spacer. Of course, you guys don't have to worry about this if you don't have one. So we're going to go ahead and line up our Sharpie mark from earlier. Keep dropping that because I'm not using the right tools for the job here. That is snugged up enough for me for now, because we want to go ahead and turn that ignition on here and actually test these grips, because even though Harley says that you need that wiring harness, you do not actually need the wiring harness. So we're going to go over here, we're going to turn these grips on for now, let them heat up. They do take a little bit of time to heat up, so while I'm doing that, I'm going to go ahead and turn that radio on, then snug up this switch housing. And make sure you still have free motion of your grip. Alright, switch housing is pretty tight. So I'm going to finish doing my grip now, or my lever. Alright, those are now tight. So we're going to let those heat up. We're going to remove our shim, and just so we are aware, make sure our brake lights still work, which they do. And let those heat up while we reinstall the windshield and the rest of the fairing. Alright, so on a 2014 Street Glide, we have now made that, we completed it by installing all of the fairing back that we had showed you, that we disassembled in the beginning. And as you can see, you did not need the harness that Harley says you need on the 14 through 16 touring and trike models. Everything is actually already on the bike. We're about to put the last cover on, wherever I put it there, which is right here. And as long as you know that your stuff is free to move in there and your wires are not going to bind up. Let's go ahead and see if you can snap this on without breaking it. It's hard to do with one hand, but there you go. Now you're complete, and again, you now have completely hidden wires. Everything is here, your switch with your numbers on it to go from 1 to 6, and everything is back assembled. Everything looks good. You don't have to do really that much work to do this, and you only have to buy the heated grips. And again, the part at least that we had purchased is right here, and I don't know of any other heated grips if they're the same or not, but this particular one is the one we just installed. So thanks for watching. Hope this helps, because we watched a lot of videos of this and nobody really touched on the pre-wired bikes being 14. I saw a lot of the 2017s, but this is the Rushmore, the first year of the Rushmore bikes, so I'm glad we at least tried it out. This is the second one we did, so we obviously found out on the other bike how to do all of this, because I spent 2 hours trying to find out where that special harness that Harley told me to buy went. Thanks for watching.